to Nevertheless, a show dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you will discover how to discern your essence and live powerful.
Hello, welcome to Nevertheless, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. My name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi. It's always a pleasure to bring the Nevertheless show your way. How is it going in your area? How are you doing? I trust that January 2016 is treating you well and you are putting some action to your goals. Last week on the Nevertheless show, we looked at the push goal, how a push goal extends and enhances our effectiveness. I remember that I told us that the push goal is the goal that will deliver most on fulfillment, but is also the one that probably takes more in process. And I said that the reason why push goals are powerful is because upon achieving or actualizing a push goal, the tendency for all other goals to be walkovers is high. I hope you're deploying that, and I'd love to hear from you. Please send me a message, and you can leave me a comment right here on the site, or you can leave me a message on Facebook. Should you have questions, I'll be happy to hear them as well. And even if you want me to help you in your goal setting process, that's also something that is on offer, and I'll be glad to hold your hand and walk you through what it is I know about goal setting. We're continuing the thought on goal setting today, but we're looking at something I have called the multiplier effect. I'm personally not a fan of binges. I don't like to binge on anything. I am that kind of slow and steady kind of person. That's the kind of person I am. I'm not a 100, 200 meter dash kind of person. I'm a marathon person, but I take my time. I'm that kind of person. So I'm the most unlikely person you will find at boot camps, especially if they're athletic boot camps. You may not be finding me there anytime soon. And I don't do dashes. And I definitely hate competitions. All of that said, how have I been able to achieve some of the things that I have achieved today? I have been able to achieve most of the things I have achieved today because I believe in the principle that I choose to call the multiplier factor. The multiplier factor simply is that thing that you do consistently over time that delivers the change that you want. When I was talking about goal setting, and in other previous shows over the years when I have talked about goal setting, I usually will say to us that when you want to set a goal, you should set what I call smarter goals. Smarter goals: S for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for realistic, T for time bound, E for enthusiastic, and R for rewarding. Now, over time in business and management, what we've always heard is SMART goals. But my coach Anna McCoy, in her book Woman Act Now, added the two letters after SMART to make smarter. And she says that a goal that you can carry through on or follow through on is a goal that you are enthusiastic about. It's not a goal that in your mind sounds like drudgery or a task or a chore. There has to be some excitement around the goal that you will carry to term. And she also talked about the reward system, that it doesn't make sense to any sane human being to expend their energy, time and resources on things that do not yield rewards. So you want to make sure that every goal that you have set this year is specific, it is measurable, it is achievable and realistic, it is time bound, it is enthusiastic, and it is rewarding. So if we have set our smarter goals this year, what do we do to go about our daily business in trying to achieve them? I bring to you the multiplier effect. When I coach a client, I usually will start from that they should set their goals and plan their lives, and I insist that they all write them down. So I imagine that even concerning your smarter goals for 2016, you have them all written down, not on scraps or sheets of paper all over the place, in one folder somewhere. Find a journal and write them down so that you can track how it is that you are doing. But before I get to tracking, I said that we're looking at the multiplier factor, and when I come back, I'll begin to define to you what that means and how you can plug it into your goal setting for 2016. Don't go away, I'll be right back.
Are you frustrated and tired of life? Do you feel trapped in life's maze and don't seem to find your way? Or are you passionate about your purpose and destiny and want to find out more? Then get a copy of DNA. DNA Destiny Navigational Application is a book written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, where she coaches you to distill the answer to the cry of purpose, mandate, and significance. She teaches you how to discern your essence, discover your God-given mandate, deploy power, and demonstrate dominion. Get a copy of Destiny Navigational Application from any bookstore near you or call 234-813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order now.
Thanks for staying around. What I want to do with the multiplier factor today is to help you break down how you can achieve your goal without feeling the overwhelming impact of the pressure that comes with things that are important. When I wrote my first book, Sister Power, I knew that I had to write that book. I had gone through the first 2-3 sessions of just sitting down to think through the content of that book, to determine the scope of the book and all of that. So I now had 8 chapters waiting for me to write. But I also had never written a book before, so I had to come up with a strategy, because when I determine, or when I set my goals and I determine where I want to go, what I usually would do is begin to look for a process. It is my personal belief that every success has a process. So for Sister Power, I started to think to myself, what would the process be? How would I write a 200+ page book and not be overwhelmed by the idea of writing a book? Then at that point in time, I didn't do as much as I do today. I wasn't doing as much as I do today. So what I did was, I sat down, I thought to myself, when is your most creative and most productive time? Personally, my most creative and productive times are between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. every day. So what I decided to do with Sister Power was, I said to myself that I would wake up at 3 a.m. for the next couple of weeks and I would sit down and write. And I was pretty confident, especially because I already had a navigation and I knew where I was going with the book, that in those 2 weeks I'll be able to deliver on a book. You will not believe what happened. I finished writing Sister Power in exactly 8 days. But here's the thing that I want you to take away from that story, so that when you're working on the principle of the multiplier factor, you will understand it. The first thing is, I had taken over 3 sessions to prepare, to think through the scope of the book, to flesh out a table of content, to put all of them down. So when I wake up at 3 a.m. in those couple of weeks that I have set aside to do this, I just wake up and I sit at my writing desk and I begin to write. And I just let it flow. I wasn't overly interested in correcting the grammar. I wasn't interested in the diction. I wasn't interested in any of those things. I just wanted to pour out the idea of the book. And all of that got done in 8 days. After which we now began to refine and fine-tune until we have the book that we have today. When, on the other hand, I wanted to write the book Destiny Navigational Application, DNA, the process was slightly different. It was different because at the point when I wrote DNA, I was a lot more busier than I was when I wrote Sister Power, which meant I didn't have the liberty to throw 3 hours at one book in a day. I needed to be able to split that time among so many other things I was working on. So for DNA, I sat down again and I went through those sessions of fleshing out a table of content, deciding the scope of the book, and all of that. Then I thought through the process. I asked myself one question that said, how many words do you want this book to contain? And I anchored at 60,000 words. I said I'd like to have a book that was 60,000 words long. So what I did was, rather than do 3 hours every day to write the book, I decided to put myself on a writing diet. So I said that in 1 month, I would just write 2,000 words every day. Of course, when I started, there were some days I could only write 500 words, depending on the time of the day and what it is that I had to do through that day. But there were also days that I wrote 5,000 words and 7,000 words. But the thing is, with those efforts, daily consistent efforts, in 1 month, the book DNA was written. And that's how I have pretty much dealt with everything that I have dealt with. In running the business that I run today, I started from lowest of the lowest of the lowest of the rungs of the ladder. And every year I would add something. Every year I would add something. Every year I would add something. And today, even though we're not even halfway where we want to go, we've come a long way. I can see radical change and difference in my life. And that's why I'm very hot on the idea of the multiplier factor. And I'm trying to sell it to you that you should try it for your goals for 2016 and see if they will not work for you. In his book, The Compound Effect, Darren Hardy said something that I'd like to quote and just use to explain to you what all of this is about. In his book, The Compound Effect, Darren Hardy says that the formula for success is small smart choices plus consistency plus time equals radical difference. I'll take that again. He's of the opinion that the recipe for success or the formula for success is small smart choices plus consistency plus time equals radical difference. So, what is the multiplier factor? The multiplier factor is the principle of taking small, seemingly insignificant steps daily and consistently that culminate in the actualization of our goals. There are small, seemingly insignificant steps that one takes daily and consistently, which have the capacity to culminate in the actualization of our goals and bring us to the place of success and change that we are looking for. So, how does the multiplier factor work? The multiplier factor begins with the choices that you make. In the example that I gave of the 2 books that I wrote, I had to decide. I had made a choice that I wanted to write this book. I had chosen the subject matter of both books before I began to put together a process. So the first thing that you want to do if you want to deploy the multiplier effect is you want to be sure that you have made the right choice. If I had decided to write a mathematical book or something, I'm sure that 4, 5 years, 10 years, maybe in my entire lifetime, I'll probably still not be able to deliver on that book because it's not flowing from my area of strength. The first thing I am advocating or that you do or encouraging you to do is start by making the right choices. Take a look at your life and decide what it is that you want to change, and decide what the choices are that you can make within the scope of the resources you have, the time you have, the energy you have that will make sense to you. So the first step is make sure you make the right choices. The thing about the multiplier factor is the fact that whatever we deploy, whether positive choices or negative ones, will deliver on the results that lie within them. That is why I'm not saying to you make choices. I'm saying make the right choices. And then as you continue to push them in small doses, over time they will trigger a huge change positively over time, and vice versa if the choices are negative. We're still looking at the multiplier factor in setting your goals. I'll be back after this timeout.
In a world filled with many fears and discouragement, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life's just simple. Don't worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi shares powerful insights and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, Nevertheless. Nevertheless is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of Nevertheless from a bookstore near you or call 234-813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order now. I guarantee you will make it nevertheless.
Welcome back. The last point I made concerning how the multiplier factor works is the point that you need to make sure that you make the right choices. Our second point talks about habits. If you know anything about habits, you know that the choices that you make feed into a habit. So you want to be sure that you form the right habits again. Initially, I had heard years ago that it takes 21 days to form a new habit. But I think last year or 2 years before, I chanced upon an updated research that says that it takes 66 days for an individual to form a new habit. Everyone who will succeed using the multiplier factor needs to be creatures of habits. So you want to make sure that you are making the right choices, and then you want to make sure that you're forming the right habits. The third thing to look at when it comes to the multiplier factor is consistency. It's one thing to form your habits. It's another for you to actually deploy those habits on a daily basis or on a consistent basis. The power room of the multiplier factor is the ability to be consistent. Some of us binge and form habits and then fall off the wagon the moment the season where the adrenaline was surging is over. That's not what I'm asking for here. I'm asking that you do small things step by step every day, no matter what it is. Do something. For instance, personally, for my growth development, I am not able to decide. Periodically, I do that and say for 1 week, I'm just going to go to a classroom and learn. But what I have decided to do over 10, 12 years ago was to wake up every day and make sure that I learn something new. Something new, not something just random. I learn something new that moves whatever it is I'm doing forward. So that's the first thing. You want to make sure that you are consistent in doing the thing that will help you actualize your goal. For instance, I find out that every time I'm away from blogging or delivering on this show, over time, people who had formed the habit of stopping by also begin to drop in number. And depending on how fast I return, I tend to lose some of my followers. So I have to go through the rigor of having to rebuild that trust again and get them to begin to follow me all over again. So that's what I'm talking about. The multiplier factor works, but it takes the right choices, it takes the right habits, it takes a consistency. But beyond that is also the fact that you cannot be consistent except you are disciplined. If we want to talk about consistency, then we want to talk about discipline, self-discipline. Discipline is the reason you will be consistent in the small acts every day, even when you don't feel like it. Achieving our dreams is not a 24-hour high, unfortunately. So we will be discouraged sometimes. When we fall upon those discouraging times is when we must draw from our discipline reserve so we can keep going. For you to make the multiplier factor work, you need to be that person who is disciplined, who has control and rule over himself. Remember that the moment you don't exercise discipline and begin to fall short, a brand new and contrary habit is forming, and you do not want that. The fifth thing that helps the multiplier factor work is hard work. Sometimes we think that, okay, if I'm consistent, then maybe I'm hardworking. No, but when you take a look at the combination of making the right choices, forming the right habits, being consistent, being disciplined, we can't run away from hard work. From choices all the way to discipline, we can capture the process as hard work. So even though I'm sharing on this show, it sounds like it's just going to be a walk in the park. I can assure you it's not a walk in the park. But what it is that when you work hard at it, you will get the results that you desire. I personally think that there is a difference between the person who binges and pushes through a boot camp and the person who takes it slow and steady like I would want to do. And the difference is intensity. When the person who pushes through a boot camp for 3 months goes through an intense 3 months, there is no guarantee that the habits they formed is sustainable. But when you just do 2 hours, 1 hour, 30 minutes every day, initially you don't feel the difference. But over time, cumulatively, you begin to see that what you're doing is actually very effective. So it's hard work. Don't trivialize it at all. Go with the mindset that you are getting into a space where you need to work hard. The final thing, that enables the multiplier factor to work is attitude. I personally believe, like I said earlier, that success has a process. And to be able to deploy the multiplier factor and win where your goals are concerned this year, there might be a need for you to have an attitude adjustment. I find that the greatest attitude adjustment that we should all have is to take personal responsibility for our success and our lives. Every year, at least once a year, I get reminded that I need to take personal responsibility for the success that I want to become. Because here's what happens. Most of the time we delegate these things to other people. But because they are not as invested and they are not as passionate about the things we want to do, I find that 9 times out of 10 I have to come back and take responsibility, because in the end it impacts my life and my destiny more than it does theirs. So these are the things that will help you deploy the multiplier effect or the multiplier factor effectively. Make the right choices, form the right habits, be consistent in what you're doing, exert self-discipline and self-control over yourself, make sure you work hard, and then take personal responsibility. Have the attitude that you're taking personal responsibility for yourself. What are the practical things that you can do? 1, determine where you are right now. That's the point of goal setting. Determine where you are right now. 2, determine where you want to go. 3, like I said, write them down and take a journal so that you can track your progress, so that you will know how you are getting along. In Woman Act Now, an organization that I belong to, founded by Coach Anna McCoy, there's something she calls the 15 minutes to destiny. And 15 minutes to destiny principle is very simple. It's an encouragement to just spend 15 minutes every day on a project that you have for the year. And she broke it down in such a way that by the time you run that for one whole year, 15 minutes, and you take a look at the time you have spent doing that one thing, you will realize that you have spent so much time, and it is impossible that you would not have made the desired change, or you would not experience the desired change that you are looking for. I want to round off today's show by saying to us that God is an equal opportunity God. In Matthew chapter 5 verse 45, he says that he makes the rain to fall on both the just and the unjust alike. What that means is God hasn't purposed that one particular person will be successful and the other person should not be successful. He's made all of us and put in our DNA the capacity to be successful. Sir Richard Branson says it like this. He says he's not more lucky than any other person on the street, that we're all equally lucky. And I tend to agree with him, because especially in Matthew 5:45 it says it, God allows it to rain upon the just and on the unjust. The question is what you do with the rain. So we have all been given a new opportunity. And what is that? A brand new year. 12 solid months to get our act together and deliver on the success that God has called us to deliver. What will you do with it? I'm doing my part. Part of my responsibility or assignment is to bring you tools that will move you closer to where you want to go. And today again, I have brought you the multiplier factor. Deploy it. If you have questions, ask me. And if you are even at the place where you are not even sure how to scientifically set your goals so that you can move forward in this year, then you can send me a message and say, I would like for you to help me plan my life and set goals for 2016. Full disclosure, is not free, it's going to be paid for. But I can assure you that at the end of the year, you will be glad that it was something that you did. This has been the Nevertheless Show, and my name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi. Till I come your way next week, discover purpose and live powerful. God bless you.
Thank you for listening to Nevertheless. For more information and resources, call 0813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com. Don't forget that when you discover your purpose, you will live powerful.